Okay, welcome back, everybody. We are back here with another tropical outlook and discussion for this quick update. We are just going to be taking a look at everything on Hurricane Rafael, now an 80-mile-an-hour hurricane. And yes, you guys, this has now turned into a pretty big situation. I know we've been waiting on this, but um, this disturbance they haven't updated. Still 30 right now and 20. But Rafael, an 80-mile-an-hour hurricane as of 10 p.m. update, moving 13 miles an hour northwest and moving about with a millibar pressure of 985, holding as a minimum hurricane as of this moment. But let's take a really close look at the tracks and where this really does stand here. So what we do see is the National Hurricane Center does want to make a landfall across Cuba as a potential major hurricane, and maybe even withstand up to a strong Cat 1 just off the coast of Cuba. This will bring devastating impacts across Cuba, and I wouldn't be surprised we could see, I would, if we take a look at the satellite imagery here, one thing I will say is we have a beautiful core on this system right now. We really do. We have a developing eye potential, and I wouldn't be surprised by tomorrow, and maybe this does become a major hurricane. This could easily become a Cat 3 hurricane, alright? The looks on it is very well pronounced. We have a perfect CDO, a classic CDO we've seen time and time again that produced major hurricanes, and just there it is. It's just one of those things that it's nothing this storm cannot handle, because we really got that moving parts on all quadrants. We got this beautiful band like this, and then you can kind of see we got this beautiful circulation like that, and then you can tell we have that beautiful circulation like that. So you can tell we are starting to see an eye maybe trying to attempt a develop here. I wouldn't be surprised. Alright. We do have the perfect annual shape of this hurricane. That is in all features right there. Very annual shape. Some more banding features. But where this will make landfall really would depend. Alright. So right now, let's say if an eye developed here, right? This thing will have to go like this. Alright, it will have to do this if the National Hurricane Center. It cannot do too many wobbles to the south here. Let's say if this goes on just even a little bit west-northwest, this thing could get even closer to the tip here. And even worse and worse, let's say this actually nudges a little bit more west, and this kind of does this and then goes like this, then you can actually see a southern tip landfall here. But I think right here where the National Hurricane Center is right now the key battleground of where this will make landfall. No regards, this is a beautiful hurricane. Honestly, I don't see anything that tells me that this is not going to become, honestly, a major hurricane. This has all of it going for it, honestly, for a major hurricane. And even in the 0Z discussion the National Hurricane Center posted, even it states what it states, alright? It really does look like, I mean, this is most likely going to become a major hurricane. This will be the 5th major hurricane, I think. This will be the 5th. That's quite a bit of major hurricanes, you guys. That's an above active season. So, you know how everybody was saying we did not have a hyperactive season? I mean, yeah, we did not, but I don't know. I think these are trying to make up for it, and you know, we're just gonna have to watch. But once again, perfect annual shape of a hurricane here. A lot of banding features and a lot of impacts. Okay. Very warm waters and a lot of ocean heat content still to deal with, and this is really going to raise that ACE to maybe even at 155, 160 potentially. All right. Really good outflow. I don't see anything issued with that. Really trying to get the eye going there, so we're gonna have to really watch that. So let's take a look at some of these 0Z models, and let's see some of these model guidance and the tracks, because it's going to be very interesting. So one model that I think is right now currently doing it, and no, it is not doing it. So let's go to the NAM. Alright. Our lovely NAM 32KM. I mean, it shows a 992. Right now it's a 985. So clearly it's already wrong. But it does indicate strengthening even through tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. And actually the NAM wants it to go a little bit more west-northwest and actually makes a landfall on the southern tip of this island. That I don't think will happen, but that's why I did put that solution in there. And then does another western, and then actually starts a much more western. And we've been noticing this more and more on the latest models, is we see a quicker turn to the west, and it actually keeps the storm much stronger and potentially withstanding its strong hurricane force much more longer. And once again, the NAM 32KM does show another tropical system. That disturbance does spin up potentially into our next named storm. And actually, NAM 32KM has this one going into the Bay of Campeche. Alright, so very interesting stuff right there. Not just the NAM 32KM doing that hard west, but even the European 18Z. And the European's been doing that. Still, once again, off by its numbers, 992. Very off by it. But it does indicate strengthening all the way up to landfall. And then makes landfall pretty much in where the National Hurricane Center has. Crosses over. Brings, by the way, some impacts. Could be some rain bands into tomorrow night, alright? Across Florida and the Florida Keys. You kind of see that, and then that kind of then goes north. But it actually then takes a dip south and actually withstands a Category 2 hurricane. Could it even be a 3? Wouldn't be surprised. And then kind of withstands and then just becomes a Category 1. But then there's that cold front. And that one could actually have severe weather too. So very interesting stuff there too. And just like the National Hurricane Center said, here, actually, let's bring up their discussion, because that was very important here. And this was pretty interesting, this paragraph. Environmental conditions are very favorable for continued intensification. And given that Rafael now possesses a tight inner core and an eye wall, they do say rapid intensification seems likely. Strangely, the HAFS model did not appear to initialize correctly at 18 UTC, and were a good 5 to 10 millibars weaker at 0 UTC tonight. Alright, so these hurricane models like they are saying that the initialize was very off. Alright. But it does show strengthening this one into 976, 975, 970, and then 966. So maybe this one even had it becoming a borderline strong 2, category 3, right before landfall. And this one I make landfall maybe 4. So depending on the time, we might try and go live before this makes landfall. We're going to have to see, alright? Does make landfall, crosses over, stays with a pretty good core. Maybe try and withstand it. We don't know yet, okay? That's all up in the air right now. They are almost getting into this, okay? We're going to have to watch that. Rafael, Mission 11, could be going into this pretty shortly. So we're going to have to watch that into some of its outer bands. That's probably another 20 minutes away. So we're probably not going to bother with that. New GFS is coming out. Initializing this as, I think, a 990. So, once again, not initializing it too much better, but does initialize it correctly. It has it a bit more south and closer to those 2 islands. So it is initializing, pressure off by like 5 millibars, but movement correctly. So we might have to take track in hand, and that will be very important. So we're going to continue to wait on that. Microwave imagery. If we just quickly look at that. No way this hasn't. That's terrible. The microwave imagery is so off. They do have this getting to a 105, by the way. And they do indicate maybe, do that. We've been live for about 13 minutes. I did not mean to go this long, but oh wow, so 981, alright. We see a 10 millibar difference and a little bit more southern. That's a little bit interesting. That's a bit more interesting on the model. This is a very interesting look on the satellite. All I'm going to say is, usually, when those pinks go away from that inner core, it does mean a developing eye is about to get going. It usually means that, okay? Or it's going to attempt it. That's what it usually means, alright? It's because it's going to start cooling down, warming up near the center, and then it's going to have those outer band features. So we might be on the cusp of some opening of an eye, and I can tell you there's some signs of an eye, northern and northwestern eye wall there, on the scans there. Looks like it's still moving generally west-northwest on this slated past. That's what I see currently. Very, very good inner structure. Don't see any fractures with that. Oh, this is really good. Oh, 977 from a 988. And actually a little bit more to the west. And then, no. Yeah, actually more southern. And a little bit, okay. Interesting. A little bit farther away than the United States. Alright, that's interesting. Gets actually very close to making landfall on that little island there. That's very interesting. GFS does have an eye. Does develop right before landfall. And actually try and keeps it into the Gulf of Mexico. That's very interesting. Keeps an eye. Did the icon come out yet? Oh, the icon is. Alright, let's go back. Icon's actually fully out. So, initialize is terrible. More southern, but the strength is terrible. And it does have that little bit more west-northwest, kind of a little bit more south into that island. Makes the landfall a little bit stronger. Wow. And then kind of moves north, but a little bit more south and stronger. So it keeps it stronger in the Gulf and more southern. He said 981 and a little bit more southern. That's very interesting.